Hi, I'm Richard Taylor. I'm the CTO at Vector Photonics. Vector Photonics is a spinout from the University of Glasgow. We make semiconductor lasers. There are classically two kinds of laser in the world, edge-emitting lasers and surface-emitting lasers. And the lasers we've developed are kind of the best of both worlds. We do prototyping on our devices down at the James Watt Nanofabrication Center. A company our size could never afford to build its own clean room. And to have access to the clean room allows us to do that work without buying our own facilities. Lasers in general are in pretty much everything people do these days. All kinds of communication, medical applications and military applications. Lasers are pretty much everywhere now. The type of laser we work on has potential in all of those markets. We're at the moment focusing on communications with the intention that one day we'll expand and be in all laser markets. It was the subject of my PhD at the University of Sheffield, but then at the end of my PhD, the research group moved to the University of Glasgow. When we all ended up back in Glasgow, it was the first time anyone had ever asked us if you considered trying to commercialize your research. So we went on a journey of discussing the technology with some potential customers. And it was at that point we realized there was quite a lot of interest in it. However, because the research had been focused on academic type publications, there was nothing that demonstrated we could do what would be necessary for industry. So we got in touch with the IEA and said, look, we want to build a prototype that proves the technology can do what industry wants. And fortunately, we were able to secure the funding from IEA, and that was the real trigger point. The team were very good at discussing with them what the IEA was about, how it worked, and made sure that we understood that we didn't waste our time writing the wrong kind of stuff. If you get grants from standard funding agencies, the expectation is you do research, you write papers. Whereas the IEA allows you to have other things like, let's transfer technology to industry, let's set up a company. It's much more difficult to write grants in a standard way for that output because that's not generally the way academia runs. So it's nice to have a different funding route that allows you to explore different opportunities and ask slightly different questions. I think there should be more of that kind of thing. There's an opportunity here whereby we can say to people, you're doing this great research, let's have some funding that is focused slightly differently and you can explore the possibilities. It's probably likely that most of those ideas won't be ready for commercialization. It'll be too early. The technology won't quite do it, but it will give the researchers exposure to a different way of thinking, and potentially some of the ideas will then lead to companies like Vector that wouldn't have happened without that opportunity. It would be great if everyone who did research would be able to point to something in the world and say that is a thing that exists because of me, right? And not necessarily just an experiment in a lab or a paper, but something like that company existed, those jobs were created, that product only existed because of the work I did. But it's very difficult for most people to be able to do that. And the IEA gives the opportunity for people to go out and look for those impact opportunities. It's a great scheme.